Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a meeting of the North Penn School District Board of School Directors, August 20th, 1998. The meeting tonight is a regularly scheduled action meeting. It is being videotaped for community cable channels. Individuals attending this meeting and intending to speak to the board should be aware that they are being videotaped. In order to meet the requirements of Pennsylvania Sunshine Law, it is necessary to record the names of all citizens who speak to the board during the meeting. To assure compliance with this requirement, it is essential that those planning to address the board come to the microphone and state their name and address. Members of the audience are asked to limit their questions and comments to no more than 5 minutes. This limit will permit time for all those who wish to speak to the board to do so, and whenever the members of the audience exceed this time limit, the board president may ask the individual to yield the microphone to the next speaker, and this is in reference to board policy 8344.2. Mr. Rusnock, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, Dr. Hassler and I want to share something with you in a quick fashion, something that we're pretty proud of, and something that we hope you're proud of too, and will participate along with us. All this week, I've had the privilege and the opportunity to attend all the sports camps up at North Penn High School. As you well know, the entire complex up there has been pretty torn up because of the addition and rerouting of traffic, and a lot of work being done up there, and it looks like mayhem. But believe it or not, it's not so. The traffic has managed itself. There has been a good control up there. There's been good signage. Responsible parents, responsible students, responsible staff members, construction workers have been more than well aware that there are hundreds of students on the property involved in sports camps, and it has just been a thrill to be up there. I've seen other board members up there visiting the different athletic teams, Mr. Allen, Mr. Shapinski, Mr. Schilling. I thank you for being out there. But you have got to see these kids in action. It makes you really appreciate why we're here and what we're about. It brings sense to why we're here to all hours of the day and night at these board meetings. There are, again, there are hundreds of kids up there. There's band, tennis, soccer, football, cross country. Did I miss any? Gosh, I'm afraid to miss any.
Field hockey.
Field hockey. The place is loaded with athletic, healthy, good-looking kids involved, as we would want them to be, in dynamic sports programs. Coaches are out there. They look great. We have definitely gone to the next level in sports in this community. And it's just exciting to be up there and to participate and to be able to walk around. It was good. Dr. Hassler came out and visited all the camps today, and it was exciting to see him out there, and everybody was excited to see him too. And if you would like to add to comments.
Yes. I'd like to add, in connection with that, but something that also bridges into the academics. As you've probably read over the last week or so, one of our high school varsity football players made a verbal commitment to attend Penn State on a full scholarship. His name is Dave Kozlow. And it doesn't hurt that he's 6'4", 260 pounds. Why Penn State was after him, and that he runs a 40-yard dash in about 4.8, which is just a little bit faster than most of us could do that. But also his academic record is outstanding. He had 1,400 in his college boards. 1420. 5.1 average at the high school. Has received numerous academic awards. And I think probably what was most telling about this whole happening, because we have other students who get scholarships, were his comments, though, in the paper when asked about his reaction to this. And one of his comments was, "I wouldn't even be here if I hadn't been properly prepared academically, and for that I have to thank my teachers at North Penn. Ever since I can remember, they've encouraged me, challenged me, and at times had to be very patient." So it's just a nice lead into our sports and our whole academic year to know that we have students like this at North Penn that who not only perform in athletics, but certainly just as well in academics.
It's really a testament to this young man to see him handle a press conference, probably the first in his young life, and to be able to speak the way he did. He talked like a prince, and he's He's the type of young man that we would all love to have for a son, and he just made us proud. And it's worth mentioning tonight, many of our students have received scholarships, more women than ever. More of our young ladies have received scholarships, and it's exciting days here at North Penn, and it's something worth sharing. Ladies and gentlemen, I need a recommendation for approval of the minutes of the 765th meeting held on 7/16/98 as circulated.
So moved.
Motion by Mosey, second by O'Donnell. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Recommend approval of the minutes of the 766th meeting held on 8/6/98 as circulated.
So second.
Motion by Mosey, second by Schilling. Questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Abstain.
Thank. One abstention. Any others? Okay, thank you. Mrs. Hatfield, Mrs. Liberowski, if you would provide Mr. Allen with an extension explanation sheet. Committee reports. Before we begin, Mr. Mosey, you're on deck, but before we begin, there are 3 committees that will be appointed tonight. First, we have the upcoming needs for redistricting because of gosh, help me. The addition at Knapp and subsequent changes in space allocations at Glenmore, etc. Mr. O'Donnell has agreed to be on that committee as a member of the school board. We will put together a community and administrative and possible teacher committee that'll go along on that redistricting committee. And thank Mr. O'Donnell in advance for being willing to take the time to do that. And I felt it was prudent that he does not have any children or any relatives that would be affected by the redistricting. Therefore, he met the criteria to be the perfect school board member to participate.
I think that's a thank you.
Yeah, that's a thank you. A little long-winded, but it's a thank you. We had a resignation this week from Mr. Allen as a member of the North Monco Technical Career Center, and Bill has served there for many, many years. Bill has, I served, I believe, all those years with Bill, and not only was it a pleasure to serve with him, but I think the fact that he came to that board with expertise in the area of owning his own business and working along with the construction trades because of his business gave him a leg up and a big help to us as we expanded the VOTEC, and I certainly appreciated and admired the work that he has done there. Mr. Schilling is willing to replace the balance of Mr. Allen's term, and hope that John will provide us with the same level of care, concern, and ability that Mr. Allen has already rendered, and appreciate him accepting that appointment. For purposes of belts and suspenders, because that is an elected board, under other business, Dr. Hassler, Mrs. Liberowski, if you would note that under other business, I will call for that, the acceptance of Bill's resignation and accepting John's appointment.
Madam President, if I may, just to alert Mr. Schilling, the next VOTEC meeting is the 16th of September at 7:30.
Thank you.
Very good. Also, should the vote be successful, as I'm expecting it will be, Ms. Liberowski, we need the VOTEC to be made aware that Mr. Schilling will be that appointment, and he will need minutes mailed to his house for that meeting. Let me see. Alternative Education Committee needs to be formulated again. We had a committee 2 years ago. We need to put that committee back into operation. We want to research the entire alternative education budget to see if there is benefit in providing those services in-house as opposed to outsourcing them. As we accommodate the space needs in the entire district, K through 12, which has been the hindrance we had all along to doing some of our own alternative ed in-house. With those alleviations, maybe there's an opportunity to bring home some of the alternative ed programs. On that committee will be myself and Mr. Sherpinski. Maybe you volunteer. What do you think, it's a sentence?
Must have.
Okay, one moment, please. I also need to advise you, thank you, Solicitor, that we were in executive session from 6:30 on this evening for purposes of personnel. We concluded at, it was 7:23 when we concluded that executive session. Facilities, Buildings, and Grounds, Mr. Mosey.
Thank you. Just a note that to alert the public and the board that the Buildings, Facilities, and Grounds Committee meeting for the 25th, next Tuesday, has been canceled for this month. We will meet the last Tuesday in September. Will be our next meeting unless Mr. Wood or myself or any of the committee members decide that we should have a session before that time. I'd like to go into high school expansion unless someone has some questions on buildings, grounds, facilities. Most of what we're doing is connected with the high school, so it's probably the report that I should be making.
Continue.
As we prepare for the opening of the 1998-99 school year, we are pleased to announce that our buildings will be ready for students on September the 8th, 1998. The fuel oil tank replacement projects at Hatfield, North Wales, and Nash Elementary Schools are substantially complete. The modular classrooms at Gwen Noor are on location, will be ready for occupancy. All of our buildings are cleaned, our boilers are currently being cleaned, and many other projects have been completed this summer. The North Penn High School project is on target as projected for September 1998. The cafeteria addition and renovation will be open for the beginning of school. The Valley Forge Road entrance will be opened on or about September the 1st. The new tennis courts lights are operational, as are all the new parking lot lights. The parking lot has been striped and numbered. The telephone system has been installed and is operational for the new school term. Our re-roofing project on the existing building is substantially complete. The major addition is ahead of schedule and will become our major emphasis as we wrap up the cafeteria area. This entire project is something that brings great pride to our staff, students, and community. I'm sorry. I'd just like to bring something, a personal note. I don't know if any of you have received it in the mail or not, but I received a letter from the 12th Night, the North Penn High School organization that supports the Marching Knights. And I'm very pleased to announce that on August 28th at 6:30 p.m. they're going to have their annual football picnic. And a special note, Mr. Art Wood, Executive Director, Support Service for North Penn School District, will be the recipient of the second recipient of the annual Lance and Shield Award. I guess this is a sign that you're getting close to retiring, Art, and start showering you with gifts. End the report, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Mosey, and thank you for bringing that up about Art. Art, just take the time. We praised the kids and the coaches up there at camp, but you know, it wouldn't be camp without the safe conditions that you, Facilities and Grounds, and your entire department has provided to us. And I think not only yourself, but along with Vince Cotter, we can feel good that our kids are up there under the conditions that exist today with the buildings. And thank you very much. Matter of fact, Dr. Hassler, if you would, the comments that were expressed tonight, if you would put them in a letter form and provide them to Dr. Cotter and Art Wood, and I'd like them in their files. Thank you. Art, thank you very much. Any comments, questions? Mr. Mosey, thank you.
You're welcome.
Continue, you did high school expansion. John Schilling, NAP expansion.
Yes. Excavation for footings is proceeding and concrete has been poured in many areas. The masons are laying foundation walls and bringing the building up to grade. Floor slabs will be poured next week in the IMC and Health Suite areas. The project is progressing at a most favorable pace. End of report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Schilling? Thank you, sir. Community Services and Policy, Mr. Szapinski.
Thank you. Tonight, we offer the board final approval of board policies 4310A, communicable diseases for personnel, and approval for board policy 5149A, communicable diseases for students. These policies have been updated to make sure that this district continues to comply with current legal standards. Also, tonight, we have the first reading of board policy 4316, staff and personnel harassment, and also the updated policy student harassment 5150. Also, the public should take note that the Community Relations and Policy Committee will resume its regular committee meeting schedule, which is the first Thursday of each month at 7 o'clock here at the ESC. As it stands now, we are still finalizing next the September 3rd, I believe it is the date. Community Relations and Policy Committee meeting agenda. Right now, it stands that we will discuss corporate involvement in the school district, the formation of the Business Advisory Council, the district's newsletters, community education updates, and further updating of current board policies. End of report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shapinsky. Solicitor, could you confirm for Mr. Shapinsky that being put on challenging committees does not constitute harassment in any form under the policy?
I will render that opinion,
Thank you, sir.
if I'm convinced of
You
it.
understand that, Mr. Shapinsky?
I'll put my complaint in writing.
Any questions of Mr. Shapinsky?
Yes, if I can. Vince, you said the new harassment policy updated? They have been changes made?
No, not since the last time we had the
Oh,
first reading.
okay.
Not since our last committee meeting.
Okay. That's all.
But this is the first reading of those policies, so we'll have an
Okay,
opportunity to talk about it at the next committee meeting.
In the last couple of months, that we haven't had some
No.
changes. Thank you.
Anybody else, please?
Just one question, I'd like the committee, if they would please give consideration that within this policy, I don't see any details or any reference really to a policy for someone that's accused and their rights within the process. I mean,
Are
it's
you
very,
talking about communicable diseases or harassment?
under the harassment policy.
Well, that'll be up for discussion at the next committee meeting.
If there's
you wanna
going to
bring
be
it there.
further discussion of the harassment policies under committee, that the 2 points that I noted was that even when it's involving student harassment cases, the person who's overseeing that is the Department of Human Resources, which I thought was unusual not to have perhaps building level supervisors, those at the building level involved when of course many see the Director of Human Resources as an employee advocate. If you follow me, it doesn't really have a lot of detail as far as the process and all that infrastructure as how that's going to
Well-
be handled. And also the grievance process for someone who's been accused.
That might
what their
fall under
protection
administrative
factors
regulations.
are.
Most of that falls under administrative regulations, not board policy. So, but we can discuss that further at the committee meeting.
What would be referenced, because these are very sensitive areas that you get into. You have people that are concerned on both ends, both sides of the coin. How to protect yourself if you're affected by it, and also what's there to safeguard those who are innocently accused.
Well, and keep in mind, the focus of board policy is to set direction, and
Right.
really it is the administrative regulations that handle the actual implementation of said policy. So
Right, but
those
I-
items might focus more in the administrative regulation area.
But I think somewhere in the policy, while it emphasizes the board's philosophy in protecting our students from harassment, there's nothing that indicates our philosophy and injects into the policy in any shape or form also our intent to protect
Just by having
those
the nature of the
innocently
policy?
accused.
Is that
It would be
protection?
very generic, but policy is very ambiguous. But I'm just saying that there's no language in there also to send a message to those that are accusing to be very sure
Well,
of
we can,
themselves.
that's a valid point to make, and I would think the first statement to that would be is we have a harassment policy just to show our intent. But we can have further discussions on that at the
Just that
committee meeting,
aspect of it too.
just to see how we can
I
implement
mean,
it.
there's been a lot of high-profile cases on this that have turned out in both directions.
And that's also a driving force behind us updating this policy.
Right. We don't want us to seem too vulnerable to false charges.
Mr. Shapinsky, I'm also interested in seeing discussions on the implementation of enforcement should charges be proven to be true on any camp, whether they're students or employees. And I'm very interested in how this policy will be handled from the board on down if we have board members harassing employees. Okay? Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Thank you. Curriculum, K-12 curriculum, Mrs. Krieger is not here.
I do. I
Doctor?
have a brief update. This past week, with the arrival of our computers, we've done a lot of training for our technology trainers. Those are teachers that will be providing support in the classroom. They've been taking a look at the curriculum, developing scenarios of how they can assist the teachers in implementing the curriculum. And during the week of September 1, 2, 3, and 4, Tuesday through Friday, we have 134 workshops scheduled. That's our training time for teachers. Those 4 days are all teacher and service days. There's 134 workshops. Over 800 teachers will be participating in those workshops. and the focus will be on the implementation of the software that goes along with the program and the other needs that they have in technology. So we're excited about actually seeing this whole technology plan starting to take life and actually seeing the equipment and also the training being put in place.
Any questions of Dr. Hassler?
Just one.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Hassler, are we still okay for our training of our staff and our in-service days? Are we still online for that? We're not going to have any problems with getting a technology set up for them too?
We're online. Computers have arrived. Many computers have arrived in the buildings, and Mrs. Klein and her staff are working and have assured us, Dr. Robinson and myself, that we're ready for the technology training during those 4 days. And it's crucial that we are ready too, so that we can kick off the year on the right foot. So yes, we're ready.
And they should be here. We just made a first payment of $283,000.
We're here. Thank you, sir. Special Education Student Services, Mr. Allen.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank you for your kind words tonight. Thank you. This evening, there are a number of items needing our approval. First, approval is needed for contracts with Northwestern Human Services, and that was formerly Turning Point for those of us who've been here, of Montgomery County for 2 drug and alcohol specialists to be paid through the Drug-Free Schools grant period. We need approval for 40 slots at Lakeside Alternative School and with the Philadelphia School District for 1 special needs student. Further, we need approval for 9 life skills support and learning support students in the special education work-study program to be employed by the North Penn School District, and students for early admission to kindergarten and 1st grade. The names of all these students are on file in the Department of Student Services. Approval is also requested tonight for homebound instructors for the 1998-1999 school year. Lastly, in conjunction with the alternative education program you mentioned, we are asking permission to apply for an alternative education program grant. End of report.
Super. Any questions of Mr. Allen?
Okay.
Let's start this way, Mrs. Sharp.
Okay, Bill, on the Lakeside Alternative School, I had to raise a question to our solicitor as we walked into the room. The motion reads for us to approve 40 slots and the amount associated with those 40 slots. But I think that as we approach that, we should consider amending that motion to include the aspect of the contract, which is also includes a 14 per day transportation charge. And since that's separate and apart from the dollars that are there, and it is a financial aspect of the contract that would be part of the motion. It shouldn't be dissected that way, and that's my concern.
Go ahead.
In other words, the motion's reading for the 40 slots at $604,800. That strictly covers the actual in-classroom.
This is actually
Tuition.
in-classroom tuition.
Right, but the contract is also authorizing a $14 per
It's a
student.
separate
always been separate.
transportation contract that historically we have done individually or separated from the instructional piece.
But I have one document that's attached to this vote.
We will come back to you after we have the actual transportation costs through John Cotran and give you a transportation contract.
Okay, Solicitor, Section 4F of this contract that is attached to this agenda reads that the school district agrees to pay transportation charges of $14 per day per student in reference to all students transported by Lakeside. That leads me to believe that this contract in itself is giving approval for $14 to making a commitment also on the transportation. That's why.
Only by those transported by Lakeside.
By Lakeside, right?
Right, but we're not authorizing the dollars for any of that at the time, even though it's in the contract and attached
We
to
don't
the
know how
same
many.
vote.
We don't have the list yet. We don't have the
Well,
bus roster.
I would,
They're going to be bus. We don't know. We can't tag it to a
Can't put a dollar
specific
amount.
student yet.
We couldn't have estimated?
no, but we are authorizing, we're binding ourselves to it through the contract approval, but not through the dollars. I'm asking our solicitor for advice. That's what I put it in his hands to
I
ask.
would recommend that you sever the transportation piece and that we come back to you with it, like we have every other year with the transportation.
Separate motion.
Are we still open for that even though it's within
No, I
this
think
contract?
Mr. Wood is correct.
So we'll be okay?
I think that your comment is well taken, and I think that if you agree to accept the contract for services, you're committing yourself to a charge of $14 per day per student with respect to those students who are transported by Lakeside, with the understanding that a separate contract has always been recommended to the board for approval. I would suggest that it'd be a good idea to delete this section and then come back as soon as we know the exact numbers so the board can adequately review and pass the expenditure of money as is
Michael,
required.
we'll never know the exact number for transportation. We have to guarantee the slots. We know that amount. That's 40 slots at so much per day for so many days a year. That's what we're paying for. But we really don't know how many children we're going to be transporting back and forth
But when will you know that?
at the end of the year, when it's done.
And when the IEPs are finished, some of them require their transportation, some
But
do
can we
not.
not authorize the per diem rate of $14 per day?
I think that's what that contract does, but I'm not the expert on interpretation.
What I'm
but
saying is though it's not
That's how I always
included within,
understood it.
it's not included within the motion, and that's
Well,
my understanding.
If I understand Ms. Scher's comment, I think perhaps the way to handle it is to add to the motion the expenditure of $14 per day, whatever paragraph F says, with respect to those students who were transported by Lakeside. So then the board has actually authorized it by
That
official board
expenditure.
action. And if we can't tell the number, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Solicitor, would you write the amended, the motion that we should read later on in the evening?
All right.
And if that contract needs to be marked up under your advisement, mark it up now. We'll have John run copies. We'll produce it, and
I don't think it needs to be marked up. I think the only thing
It's
that has
the
to happen
motion?
is just the motion has to be modified, and I'll just
would
write
you
some
write it?
language. Yeah, I'll take
Thank you,
care
sir.
of
Right, and that was the purpose of me bringing it now rather than
That's
when we
fair.
reach that point.
Very fair. Anybody else, please?
Yes,
Yes,
another
sir.
question. I read this declaration, I'd never heard of this Lakeside Youth Services before. I had a similar question on $14. But up here, it caught my eye. I'm just wondering, I try to do my homework, and I don't want to waste anybody's time, but I read in here that Lakeside reserves the right to utilize its discipline system in order to further engage the student into the program, like you will do this. Can somebody explain to me what kind of a school this is?
Yeah, it's a, sure.
I think I know what it is,
Do it
but
delicately.
It's clearly an alternative education student program, and it's for those students who have difficulty within the regular school day and within the regular school district. The discipline that they're referring to is a behavior management plan. It is not aversive or intrusive in any manner, and students need to maintain their behaviors. That's why they're there, and in essence, why they are removed from there. So when they're talking about a discipline plan, it's related to that. So students have a plan, parents are aware of what that plan is, and they're following that.
and the state mandates us to do this, or we find it best to do this?
This is in the best interest of kids and of our program.
Do we keep our football players there to make sure they're allowed?
Now. There are no football players in the alternative ed program.
No, that meant as a joke too. That's what I thought, what kind of kids these were. That's it.
Okay, anybody else?
That's it. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yep.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Allen. Support services, you want to continue?
Support services. No, is that me?
That's your,
No report.
Get a report. Any questions of Mr. Allen? Thank you. Finance, Mrs. Sharp.
Very short report on tonight's agenda, our budget transfers, perfunctory business that takes place at the close of a fiscal year. I'd like it though also noted that while we are giving approval for these budget transfers, it is actually connected to a board vote that we took in June.
Right.
And this is follow-up, and I request that Ms. Hatfield or Mrs. Steady follow up and see that in the minutes, that there's a cross-reference to that previous action by the board, just for clean record keeping, so it doesn't look like they're two separate actions, and perhaps attached to very different list of budget reserves. It may look like two very different actions. I think that we should have it cross-referenced as we move forward in those minutes, so that there's no misunderstanding
Sure.
as people look back on the records of the board.
Okay.
But outside of that, finance has been very quiet lately. Carol's still catching her breath, I guess, from budget season. Right now, we are still scheduled to meet next Tuesday. However, I would say everyone should have a heads up that Carol's going to be getting back to me, and I, in turn, taking in the opinions of the committee, there is a possibility that the meeting will be canceled. At this point in time, it is still scheduled to occur, 6 o'clock Tuesday.
So we're still going to have it on Tuesday?
At this point in time, I'll be seeking input from the two of you. Carol just told me that she has a light agenda.
We may have one thing on the agenda. Are you finished? Just let me know when you're finished, and I'll add something to that.
I questioned Carol regarding audits and things, and any outstanding reports. She said at this point in time, she really doesn't have any compelling business to bring forward. But Frank, go ahead.
What I'd like to add, if you're finished, is about 8:30 last night, I finally got the final draft of the 1996 bond fund review.
Okay.
Rather than wait, my intention is to read, and I was doing this at 10:30 last night, a little comment about when I got finished with the draft myself. What I'd like to do is read this, and while I'm reading this, I'd like to hand this final review out that I just got. At the same time, hand out a few copies here, and I'd like everybody to listen to my comments what I'm about to say about the review.
Well, Frank, could I ask that you to distribute that to the board and perhaps hold that for discussion? Distribute it as information only for our
No,
committee meeting and for discussion?
What this amounts to, first of all, the board had voted me a while ago to simply oversee this, although I've got a statement to make. Basically, what it amounts to is taking a telephone bill and charging it to repair and maintenance instead of the telephone expense. If it were me going forward, I would have never recommended going into an outside auditor. In-house, when mistakes are made, you simply make a journal entry and you debit this account, credit this account. That's all this really is. Now, it shouldn't be made out of a molehill. It shouldn't be happening. This work has to be done anyway, by the way, for the audit, determine a proper cash balance. There's nothing really involved in this thing other than simply a misclassification. So what I'd like to do is hand the 9 copies out now. I'm reporting back to the board. I want to hand out the 9 copies to the board, and I have some extra copies made to hand out here. And listen to what I have to say. There's really nothing in here. Other than, I mean, we've already beat this thing to death.
Have you distributed to any board members?
No,
about
I just got this
Have
last
you discussed with any board members and bringing this
Just
to
got
the
the
agenda?
final draft last night. So I'm reporting back now.
Mr., half an hour ago, Mr. O'Donnell brought this to my attention. I suggested that he save it for Finance Committee. He has chosen not to do that. It's within his right
I
as a
chose
separate
to-
appointment to do it the way he's doing it. I recommended it as you have suggested, but he still can do what he's doing tonight.
Because
I just thought it's courtesy to all board members to receive it, and then we could place that on the agenda for our Finance Committee meeting, and that way.
It
all
can still
board
go on your
members
agenda.
Would have a chance.
It's
to
not a
participate.
lack of courtesy, it's how he's choosing to handle his
I'm
assignment.
choosing it because it was separate from that. I'm choosing to report back to the board. Once you read it, you need to read it. There's nothing really, it's like saying basically, oh yeah, we have a pile of invoices, they should have been coded here instead of here.
Has our solicitor seen it, Frank?
Doesn't need to say.
Okay.
Doesn't, these were properly
Oh,
approved
the
invoices.
solicitor got a copy
Let me
anyway.
distribute it, let me make
It's still a
my
public
comment.
document.
We'll go from there.
Are we doing this now at this point in time?
He wishes.
Really, let me just make my comments.
Mr. O'Donnell, please come out to the community and say.
I'll tell you what. You'll do it? And if whoever doesn't have one here, and this would be for the vote. No, I just asked John, I realized, as the people came in, I realized there would be more copies.
I think you have, if not, we'll make it.
Let me just read my comments after I read this last night, after I put my thoughts together about 10:30, 11 o'clock last night. 1996 bond fund review. You should keep in mind that the purpose of reviewing the 1996 bond fund was to establish the correct cash balance and to ensure that properly approved and paid invoices were charged to the correct project. This particular bond fund was project-driven, unlike those in the past. This independent review was initiated by the Finance Department because there was a belief that many invoices were mistakenly charged to the wrong project and bond fund. They, as well as the board, needed to know the correct bond fund balance. They later determined that invoices totaling $399,000 were charged to the 1992 bond fund in error. We now have a full accounting of the 1996 bond fund. The 1996 and 1992 bond fund accounting records have been corrected. After several conversations with the independent auditor and the finance department staff, we concluded this was simply a case of charging invoices to the wrong bond account. Although I say simply, it emphasized the need for better internal control for project-driven funds. At the time the review was started, agreed-upon procedures were prepared by our Director of Finance and discussed with our accounting firm to ensure there would be no further misclassification of invoices. These controls have been thoroughly reviewed, and I believe they are appropriate. I only ask that you read the whole report before asking any questions related to this particular report. Again, this report is for information only, and we primarily need it to be verified by the school district's independent auditors to establish the correct cash balance as of June 30th, 1998. Also facilitated the year-end audit process, because this is also needed, I think, within a couple of days, because the auditors are already doing the preliminary work now. They've started on all the bank recs, the things, the easy things they can start before they get into the nitty-gritty. So what I've asked you to do is simply look at it. You're not going to have any questions once you read the report. It should answer most questions. Some of the interest income information wasn't calculated and given to the auditors until only maybe a day or two ago. I think just a couple of days ago. And they finally got back, the accounting firm just got back to Carol, and these things had to be, being there wasn't time to put it in the package, I had to send all the copies to my house, because I hadn't seen the final draft. And the final draft wasn't appropriate because there had been an earlier draft, it was half of what you see. It really wasn't, Ed and I had to go quite a bit into this thing. And we touched base with Carol because we needed some projected interest income that just wasn't done and verified by Ed Furman. I assume Ed Furman or his.
Yes, I sent it to him on Tuesday, he verified it by Wednesday.
Is this the final draft then?
This is the final draft.
Oh, final report, rather.
This is the final report, because I saw, I said draft earlier. This is the final report that I got into last night about 10:30. So I felt appropriate to report back to the board. And then my further comment is, if somebody wishes to bring it up and have any kind of discussion on it, yes, bring it to the finance committee to simply discuss. And in my mind, not trying to downplay this, it would be, gee whiz, why did we miscode this bill from here to here, or from here to here, or from here to here? There's nothing more than they are properly paid, they are properly approved invoices, simply charged to the wrong account. Nothing more, nothing less. In the future, Carol and I agree, we now have a CPA on board. In the future, these types of mistakes will simply be corrected internally. There'd be no need to go outside. I don't have the final bill from Ed Furman, but he said, Frank, all they really did was verify their information, and it won't be near the $2,500 that what the board initially approved. I don't have the final bill yet. I don't know yet, but Frank, I assure you, it won't be anywhere near that. If you read this thing, it should answer all your questions.
Carol, I'd like to have this placed as a topic for our agenda at the Finance Committee meeting. I will also take input from my fellow committee members to see if perhaps Mr. Furman's attendance should be requested or not.
Should be signed by.
And I do have some follow-up questions, but I will save that for the Finance Committee report. Thank you, Frank.
Frank, thank you for handling this task, and Mrs. Duddy, you too. Appreciate that, and I'm glad we had this done. If I was Carol Duddy, holding the position that she holds in this district, I would want an outside person to handle it. This is the first bond account that Mrs. Duddy has touched. And after what we've been through with the past, with Deloitte and Touche reports, and the results of those audits, I think this is best. Mrs. Duddy has started with a clean drawer. She has a right to know that. And this was very smart.
And that was, right, this year, we believe this was appropriate with everything that's going on. To simply have an independent set of eyes look at it. Yeah, we agree, Carol, you're absolutely right. You and your staff are right. These were miscoded. Let's move them from here to here. That's it, and now it's official. Life goes on.
Also with miscodings, they come with the unfamiliarity to projects that we are doing now.
Right.
Mrs. Duddy will be here with us close, I guess, to a year or so. Reba, fortunately, we have Art here, so we do have new staff that were unfamiliar with projects, so miscodings are not surprising.
Project books have all been set up.
Right.
Going forward, and I believe 1 or 2 board meetings ago, we requested a monthly update.
Right.
So everything is in place now, so this should not happen again.
Thank
I know
you.
you didn't know it.
Thank you for completing this task, Mr. O'Donnell, and it'll be on finance. Any other questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Carol, who is handling our bond, or controlling our bond fund expenditures? Is it Mrs. Dirksen still doing that?
Mrs. Derrickson is keeping the books for me, with the cooperation of Mr. Wood.
Like
and I
she did when
worked-
she worked for Mr. Wood?
I would say, yes. We've set up a new accounting system, though, so her tasks are a little different.
But she's still keeping the same record of the drawdown of the various bonds and so forth?
No, I'm keeping that.
You
It's
have that
separated
now.
from, as per the auditor's recommendation, it's been
Sure.
separated from the facilities area.
I'd like to make a recommendation, Mrs. Shearer, that as a member of the Finance Committee, that you can at the next meeting, you show us what procedures you're following now, so we have an idea how you're controlling these bonds.
Absolutely.
That was also I had asked you to put in here.
And secondly, we have taken the Keenest Road money and invested it in treasury notes. Is that correct?
Yes.
And following the market the last couple of weeks, treasury notes have been taking a beating. Have we been getting any kind of feedback, or we get any kind of an update as to where we are with that investment? Because the whole purpose was to make money to pay off our bonds. And now with these treasury notes taking kind of a beating on the market, I'm getting concerned as to whether we are making money or not. Because it really
Treasury-
dropped today.
The treasury notes from the Keenest Road sale were invested in June when the property changed hands.
Right.
And those rates of interest were locked in June for the next 12 years. So we know the minimum amount of interest that we will be earning. Our investments, on the other hand, our daily investments certainly are subject to the interest decline.
I saw where our interest rates went right down. I thought the same thing with Pat. Right after we locked in, the rates went down.
We just made that. Timing was very good.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Good decision, good providence. Anybody else, please? Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Scher. Personnel, Legislative, Technology, Don Hill.
Yes, under personnel, there's a lot of items on the agenda this evening, like there is in most of our agendas, regarding the changes, modifications, additions to our personnel for your review. As we move into the new school year, we're trying to get all our personnel in place, and that process is well underway and will be in place by the start of the school year. End of the report on personnel. Under legislative, before you get a chance to respond, under legislative, there is really no report. Only thing that's slightly connected with legislative is that, as we've indicated, we plan to look at the new taxing law, and that process will be starting this fall. Technology. Technology committee meeting will be held on the first Thursday in September, which will be the 3rd at 6 p.m. At that time, we'll be covering those items of concern that will be on the, need to be handled regarding technology in the month of September. So, Mrs. Deddy, I'd like to make sure that Mrs. Klein has puts that agenda together for anything that you need or she needs to take action on in September. We'll be at the work session then at our meeting on the 3rd. The other thing I'd like to have on the 3rd is a demonstration of the equipment. And Dr. Hessler, would you tell us what you had in mind for that we could do for that?
Basically, what I think would be a good idea is to just recreate what the exact demonstration and shortened version of the training that we did for both administrators and our technology trainers. Really, it does two things. It provides an opportunity for you to actually see the equipment that will be in every classroom, and also how teachers can utilize it and how it ties into our curriculum.
So that'll be the prime.
Yes.
What about us board members that are afraid of computers? You're not going to embarrass us or anything in public, are you?
No.
Okay.
I think you hold the mouse.
This is how you hold them now.
They'll give you a football to hold.
I know.
So primarily, the committee meeting will be that demonstration of the equipment on the 3rd. That ends my 3 reports.
Okay, I'd like to add under legislative, I've had some discussions with Mr. Yanoff and Mr. Bartle in regards to that Homestead Exemption Act study group. And right now, in how to best handle that and pulling a group together, we are allowed 5 members of that group. And I believe that what we hope to do is put notice in local papers requesting a short paragraph and a resume from interested members of the community that would like to be on that committee. The paragraph, of course, to explain why you wish to serve, what are your reasons for wanting to serve in that capacity, and your resume, of course, would speak for itself. It is my wish to make copies of every single paragraph and resume from those that submit them to Mrs. Bobrowski, and each board member be provided with copies of all of those, and that the board members submit, again, to Ms. Bobrowski, their 4 or 5 choices. I need more clear understanding as to the appointment of the board member from council, and we're still discussing that. But it'll either be 4 members or 5 members of the community. If it's 4 members, it'll include, then a board member will make the 5th person. So that's probably the direction that we're going, and that way all board members have their hand in the matter. And again, paragraphs and the resume should speak for themselves. So I'm hoping that can be accomplished by the next action meeting in September.
Madam President, what's the deadline for sending in that stuff?
That will be explained in the public notice that'll be placed in our local papers.
Okay.
It will also be placed, please, Mrs. Bobrowski, on our scroll, Channel 16, and any other appropriate places of media notice. Okay? Any other questions of Mr. Hill in the areas of personnel, legislative, technology? This way, Mrs. Sherr.
It's been previously discussed and requested that we have that information that Mr. Shapinsky and myself both questioned regarding the maintenance or service costs for the more expensive printers when that issue was raised. I haven't had any follow-up on that, but I still have to say I have maintained the same concern that $300 and $400 printers are satisfactory for the classroom, but we need $1,300 and $1,400 printers for the offices. Secondly, I think the Technology Committee should consider the fact that most technology purchases have been coming through under the PEVM contract, and I know that we as a board moved a couple of years back to move forward to more and more competitive bidding, not when it was necessarily required by law, but in all take advantage of all opportunities to bring competition for the district's business to the table. And in the area of technology, where there's some very big dollars being invested, it is very rare when I'm seeing the background that shows that we attempted to compare prices. State contract may or may not be the best price out there on the market. And I just have to say, after watching hundreds of thousands of dollars come through on these agendas with a single source being represented as the best source, that I think the Technology Committee should consider moving forward to at least having some backup reviews out there. Seek the bids, and if the state contract is always there to fall back on if it happens to be the best price going. But I think we do need to reach out there for some.
You're assuming we don't do that. You're assuming that Art Wood, Carol Detty, and Mrs. Klein have not done that.
It's been requested several times that when that background work has been done, if there have been bids sought, and if in fact that's led us to go to the state contract, that we would receive that information.
I wasn't familiar. I will do that for you. It's not a problem. We do call the different vendors.
You take all your phone quotes?
Yeah.
Phone
I didn't realize it was requested. I'm sorry.
You shop all these.
No, I mean actual bidding process, a competitive process, request for quotations or request for bids.
We make the phone calls to the various players and vendors, and we get the price for the product we're looking for. And based on the quotations, then we make the decisions. I didn't realize you had wanted to see that, but we can get that.
I believe it was
Let's
raised at a
just
couple of meetings.
table that, and we'll bring it up at the technology on the 3rd. We'll talk about it that
I
time.
would like to restate those concerns. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. North Monco Technical Career Center, Mr. Allen, I guess it's your last report.
Well, I will defer to
I was there.
Mr. Mosen.
Yeah, you have.
We think our agenda's packed tonight. You should have been there Monday night. They haven't met for 2 months. I'll try to keep it brief. Number one, they did accept Mr. Allen's resignation. Board members present were disappointed Mr. Allen wasn't there because at least Mr. Black had the courage to show up this final evening, but we understood. Enrollment for the 1998-99 school year will be 1,080 students, 499 of which will be North Penn students. The handbook for 98-99 was distributed, or preliminary, the draft. There's no changes to policy, just changes into personnel. And in conjunction with that, they're still searching for a replacement for Mr. Kraft, who was the assistant director who left to accept the director's position in York County. The culinary project is still shooting for a September 1st completion date. That's the complete update of the area. The second floor addition, they've taken half of it and it's going to be used for the new biotech program. They've hired an instructor, a very qualified individual with a PhD degree. And that project, they hope, will be open by the beginning of the school year. 2 new policies were distributed. One is a combined for professional development and teacher induction plan. And the second one is very important because it's a proposed method of calculating district percentage share of operating costs. And they said they've gotten a hold of the various business managers. They get a hold of you?
Yes.
Just to give you an idea, they did it by hours. We will have students taking combined over 170,000 hours of instruction. 46.6% of the enrollment there are North Penn students. And our contribution is going to be well over $2 million a year. Now, I haven't had a chance to completely read the whole policy, but from what Dr. Irwin said at the meeting, in meeting with the business manager, seems like it's fair the way he's going to calculate it. But that's something we can discuss at our committee meeting. You could probably bring out some of your concerns at that meeting rather than do it here, because I know he said he met with all the business managers. End of report. Oh, incidentally, I was elected vice president, so.
Well, congratulations.
I think it was through process of attrition.
Well, we should note, Mrs. Hatfield reporting from this day forward will be Mr. Mosey at each board meeting, and we'll replace Mr. Allen's name with Mr. Mosey's. And also, as we get these agendas after M, you need to add the redistricting committee. You need to add the alternative ed committee. N and O.
We have it.
Okay. Mr. Ward, you're the walking archives around here, human archives. When was the last time you remember 499 students going to VOTEC? What year?
76, 77.
There you go.
I think it was interesting, they said the other night that it was, I think 7 or 8 years ago, they only had like 400 students in a whole
That's right.
school.
That's right.
So it's really.
Right now, VOTEC is really hot. Kids have picked up on the idea, hey, I can do both. I can have an academic day, I can have a vocational day, I can be an engineer, I can go to college, I can do anything. And there are some kids that for the same tuition dollar are getting an incredible education between the 2 buildings. And I think, again, we are a blessed district to have in our backyard this VOTEC. And I love that board. I love serving on that board. I miss you, Mr. Allen, but that place is great. They've got a real grip. And again, something to be proud of. We have the lion's share, and I really have a lot of faith in the way they're going to calculate the dollars, Mrs. Deddy, because it might be the most fair way they've ever done it. I think too many times it was assumed that North Penn had the deepest pockets, and I think out of the 5 sending districts, I think sometimes we picked up more than our tab. So I like what they're about to do, and I hope that works for you.
We'll talk about it at the finance meeting.
Great. Anybody else for Mr. Mosey? Okay, thank you. And again, Bill, thank you very much. Meet and discuss. Don Hill.
No report.
Any questions of Mr. Hill? I'd like to add that I did provide Mr. Jordan with a letter inviting him and his negotiating team to meet with myself and district team. We do have dates.
Yes.
Before school starts, Mr. Jordan?
Next Tuesday.
For students.
You're paid. You define the start of school. I'm just a miserable volunteer. Look at him. Look at him rolling his eyes. Okay.
Next week.
Good, thank you. We'll get back to you. Good. All righty. Go ahead, sir.
That's one of the issues.
Municipal relations, Mr. Straczynski.
No report.
No report, you almost tried to get it off the agenda, didn't you? Montgomery County Intermediate Unit, any report from Mrs. Krieger? Okay. All righty, very good. Audience of citizens. Folks, it's your turn. Mr. Gordon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. With the start of the school year, the conversation around the dinner table is how the school day is going to go. And one thing that's coming to my attention that I thought I'd bring up here, we may be suffering a bit maybe from our own success. I know tonight we're looking to lock in last year's food prices for the lunch program. It's come to my attention that some of our students may be taking lunch at very early hours, like mid-morning, possibly as early as 10:30 in the morning at some elementary schools. That seems rather early for lunch when the school day is going to continue on till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I know some of our younger students in the earlier grades do get a snack, but even for the upper grade levels, having a lunch at 10:30 in the morning or 11 o'clock in the morning seems rather early. And I know due to the need to get so many students through the lunch line, that it becomes a matter of logistics that we need to process that many students through. But I think we might want to review that and or look at the logistics for individual buildings if this is just, as I'm seeing it, just a particular building, Montgomery, being told that my kids may be having very early lunch where they might have just finished breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Bruce, if I could add.
Yeah.
My daughter was in second grade last year, and I think her lunch was 10:30 in the morning. And her teacher, I believe, on the routine in Hatfield Elementary, but apparently they do allow them to have snacks in the afternoon. I know otherwise. I was very concerned too. You're right, due to logistics, what are they going to do?
Yeah. And of course, the scientists are telling us to have dinner at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm just thinking about leaving, getting on a train at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and dinner would be something reheated. But the kids come home ravenous, and certainly it's good to have a quality snack for them when they get in the house. But I would wonder if we couldn't somehow look at logistics of how the kids are getting through the lunch lines. I really appreciate the low price. I really do think it's giving the kids a quality lunch from what I've seen of the menu offerings. And that's all good. I just hope we're not suffering too much from our own success. Snack time is certainly helpful to keep that energy level up so that they can learn throughout the day. It's important that the kids be nourished properly, but forcing a lunch too early in the morning, I think, is not quite working well enough to mingle that with the education. So if we could look into that, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gordon.
We need snack time here at the board meeting.
There you go.
Snack time.
Snack time.
Now, Mr. Lunchbox himself. Mrs. Penniman?
Bobby Penniman, Lansdale Borough. On the subject of lunch, my first grader was delighted last year to see so many days when lunch was actually breakfast. So thank you, Mr. Wood, for making a really interesting lunch menu, and now I can see why that might be necessary, because it really is breakfast sometimes. I see in our handout tonight that Sue Cahill is on the agenda to be approved as English supervisor at a per diem. I can only assume that we've had no luck in hiring a replacement for that position.
Let me respond to that. I would back up and say that what we want to do, when we took this, brought this forward, is to really take this year to take a look at what the best structure is as far as curriculum supervisors. We want to take a look at the role of department chairs, how they fit into the plan, assistant principals and their responsibilities, and a curriculum supervisor position. So we felt best that before we fill those positions, we want to take that year and look at it through the curriculum department, but provide the support that we feel is necessary and needed. We feel confident that we will provide the support for the reading program, English program, and science program that we need.
Has the reading position been filled?
We're recommending an interim position tonight. I think we also have a lot of talented staff members on our staff that can fill the position, and maybe not in the in the supervisory role that requires a special certificate, which really is starting to limit the applicants for that position.
It's been over a year.
And we will have a person in that role full-time this year.
I appreciate that we need to examine our infrastructure, so to speak, from time to time, but I just have to repeat, it's been over a year. And I don't want our children to be disadvantaged because there has not been direction at the head in those two critical areas by a permanent full-time person for the last year. And I certainly appreciate the skills of Sue Cahill by reputation, and I hope that she's agreed to stay as long as it's necessary to get the job done. Still on the subject of personnel, looking at tonight's recommendations for professional staff, asking again about our aides. One of the key benefits of hiring certified teachers as aides in the classroom in the last couple of years has been to have a pool from which we could draw qualified teachers who would like to work on a larger scale than as an aide, as full-time teachers. And I'm curious as to see why we still have not hired a single aide as a teacher, have none come forward, and are they not qualified?
I cannot talk about personnel at this particular meeting, Mrs. Penniman.
Do we have all of our new elementary principals in place now?
We have all except the most recent resignation, and Dave Kratz is being recommended on the agenda tonight to fill that on an interim basis as we've started to advertise and look to fill that position.
Still on the personnel issues, our extra duty assignment list is in tonight's handout too, and I know that's been requested for a long time, so it's interesting to see. I didn't have time to really look at it in any great detail, but I'm curious as to whether or not any of the positions are being held by non-school district personnel. We've had conversations about that from time to time.
Yes, we have a number.
Is that what the asterisk is? I saw the asterisk, but I didn't see an explanation for it.
It's listed in the bottom at the end. It tells you they're
Well, it was many pages, and coming in, it's hard to read 30 or 40 page handout while we'll wait for the meeting to start. Thank you. The audit that Mr. O'Donnell brought to our attention tonight, I'm just curious as to the date on this. The date is shown as signed by the auditor on July 21st, and today is August something or other, so about a month later. Is there any reason for the delay of a month in presenting that?
I saw a draft which only had about half that data, maybe about a month ago. I didn't notice any data on it, to be honest with you. I had asked him to change that first page. There were sentences added, sentences deleted. Apparently, I didn't notice that. I went right into the meeting last night. Really, about 9:30, 10 o'clock, somewhere around then, is when I saw the final draft.
So that date was applicable to the first draft?
Probably was. I had asked, as a matter of fact, his staff had faxed it to me. When I went through right away, I think Carol may have been on vacation, I don't remember. I was working with one of his staff accountants. He didn't know too much, so Ed and I were on the phone for quite a bit on things that I was looking for to be included, such as the total bond, the summary in the front, the summary in the back, the interest income, a lot of data.
Thank you. I was just curious as to why there was a month delay on the date, and it was probably an oversight. Yeah, thank you.
There's two different dates on this report. There's the letter she's talking about, the cover letter, and then all the data has June 30th on it.
June 30th seems to be the closure date?
Most of it was done, as I had stated earlier, most of it was done. When I talked to Ed Furman, I had asked him, because it would be finished by this board meeting. He said he had hoped to. This was about a week or so ago, and he said he was waiting for Carol and the staff to still work on the interest income. There were some objections, and I believe they need some information back from Park to estimate when the pay down is going to be in the high school to get some kind of an idea roughly what would be paid down and what would be the interest income at those points in time. And eventually, I said, you got to cut it off. You can't, I'm not sure how fast they're going to work ahead of schedule, but you have to draw it down to come up with some estimate of what we think the interest income would be. And I really think, I'm not sure what Art's involvement was with Carol, but I know it was literally at the last minute. I said, you got to get it done. Come on, I don't want to wait another month for this thing to go through. But Ed also assured me, too, he needed information for the proper cash balances for the audit. It's just starting right now. I didn't pick up on the date. I only looked at the video.
Just to add clarity, I would say the June 30th date would represent when he closed his record.
Right, that looks like a closure
And
date.
just like in anything, any kind of audit, or you've got to close off, otherwise you're coming back every day for new
Well, I
transactions.
said that also. You got it, right.
While I can't explain the July 3rd, 21st to date, I would say the June 30th date clearly represents when he cut off that this is
That's
when
how
we're
I read
leading
it.
up to that
Because
particular
the end of
period.
the audit, our audit ends
And
year end, sorry.
That wasn't my question, that was Mr. Sherpinski's.
Wasn't a question, it was just a statement.
Very quickly, the Homestead Act Committee being advertised and so on, resumes solicited, is that because of the nature of that committee?
No, I guess in talking with the solicitors, how best to facilitate putting that committee together so it would remove, any accusations of partiality or politics, was to put it out to the community and let everybody render equally under a certain time period, and each board member picks 5, and it would just be done by tally.
As opposed to another committee that would be comprised of citizens?
I guess if I appointed the committee as board president, it would be a field day of accusations that none of us need.
Okay, one last question. Rumor has it, and we know what rumor is, there are nearly 700 children enrolled at my elementary school, which is Gwyn Nor, and I'm looking at the Act 34 hearing booklet from the high school, which was dated April 1997, and this tells me my capacity of that school is actually 475, and at the time that this document was done, which was June 96, there were 599 children there. Now there are almost 700, just shy of 700 moving into that building. We've added 2 modulars there, but still that's an awful lot of kids.
Excuse me, Madam President, the capacity that you see in the Act 34 hearing does not take into consideration the 6 modulars there that are there, plus the 2 additional ones we're putting in.
Oh, so we have 8 modulars then for that additional 275 children.
Plus we also need the special ed.
Okay,
Doctor, is there anything you want to add to that?
thank you.
Just so you know, the numbers are close to 700, but you should know that the class size is well within our guidelines.
Okay, well, I don't want to get into a situation where my daughter is actually eating breakfast at breakfast time for lunch. Thank you.
You know what, I hate to, whine in anybody's picnic basket, but I just had lunch today with a Norristown School District Board member and some teachers from Norristown. And they talked today about all the kids they have difficulty teaching because they're hungry. Didn't get breakfast, don't have money for lunch, too proud to take the free program, children actually hungry. So I praise God, our kids are fed. Whether it's 10:30, 1 in the afternoon, our kids, to the best of my knowledge, are not starving and coming to school that way. Mrs. Wilkowski.
Jan Yolkowski, 10 Ensign Township. Since everybody's bringing up the subject of audits tonight, just when, if ever, are the taxpayers of this district going to get the full dilute and touche audit?
What was that question again?
I can't hear.
When are the taxpayers of this district going to get the full dilute and touche audit that was, I believe, about 1.5 years ago?
The Deloitte and Touche audit, the report itself was offered at a board meeting. The board did not come back for further discussion.
But was that ever released?
That report was all that we received.
I thought there was going to be a more...
There was consideration of having Deloitte and Touche come back before the board and the community, however, the organization does not perform that function. They did meet, however, to answer legal questions with the board.
I just had the impression there was going to be a more complete audit report given to the community at some point.
No,
Go ahead.
there's several different auditing firms. We have the firm of Malley Falconero who does our annual.
Yes, I'm not
financial audit.
talking about those.
And most recently, you may have heard that we had the state auditors in from December to approximately March of this past year. Their report is due to be out, as best I understand it, sometime in October or November, and it will be directed at the years 1994 and 1995.
Ms. Steady, could you or Mrs. Sobrowski have a, if Ms. Yokowski does want to return to pick that up, have a copy of the Deloitte and Touche report, if she is so inclined to come and retrieve it. There's no sense in anyone pulling that out. She'd rather not, but if so, please, so that she can be sure that she has the full, complete report that we received.
No, I would like to have that, Mrs. Scher, thank you. I just had the impression when, about a year ago in the newspapers, there were some stories about some people improperly gained our insurance after they had left our employ and things like that. And I had the impression at that time that these were preliminary findings and that at some point there was going to be an additional lengthier report. And then we got into the state audit, and I wondered if one was being held up because of the other or what was happening.
Those findings are in the report that Ms. Liberowski will make available to you about the insurance situation and how it was rectified by this council, this board.
Thank you, Mrs. Mangle. I also would like to ask, I missed a meeting or two there, unfortunately. The year-end balance at the end of the last school year, Mrs. Day, could you just give me roughly that figure?
For June of 1990?
Yes.
That balance has not been established yet. The auditors will be starting, they have started, they will be in starting next week on site for about 4 to 6 weeks. And we expect to know at least the preliminary estimate within the first 3 weeks of their arrival on site.
I had heard that there was a figure given out at one of the meetings, but perhaps I'm mistaken. And a month or two ago, there was some talk about redoing our fee schedule for rental of schools. What is the status of that at this time? Is that still in process? Has that been approved?
That's at the discretion of the superintendent, and it was already changed 2 months ago.
So we just changed it to the new
It's
figures?
under the prerogative of the superintendent. We discussed it at one of our, I think, our work sessions.
It was done at one of the facilities committee meetings,
Right.
Mr. Kowski. It was brought up and discussed, and it is the prerogative of the superintendent to change those fees. That does not have to come
And they
before
were
the whole
changed,
board.
and they were all
They
increased.
were all changed.
Yeah, I got the new schedule, but I didn't know if it had been adopted or if that was just something we were looking at.
No, actually,
it was changed.
between community relations and facilities, we reviewed everything and we upped our prices.
July 1, effective July.
Because we hadn't done it for about 6 years, I think, wasn't it?
Okay. And I realize I'll have to fill out one of the little forms probably to get it, but I would like the expenses of the cost of the school calendar. I have been interested in this item for many years, and I'm just curious what we are spending on that at this point, including a rough estimate of staff time, and if there's any way we can bring in a cheaper document that may not be as pretty, but might be just as effective. Thank you.
Mrs. Elkowski, just so you know that topic will be at the next Community Relations Committee meeting, that we do have something to share with that, because we did save a significant amount of money just on the development alone.
Thank you.
Good evening, Linda Abram, Upper Gwynedd. Been away a little while, guys. Hi. Couple things. This is like my home away from home here, so when I'm not here, I feel lost. The calendar, you might have said something earlier, I came late. Is it available soon, the school calendar?
It'll be available at the end of this week.
Okay, and they'll be mailed out to families?
It'll be mailed out next week.
Okay, super. On the extra duty list, when it says to be named, does that mean that there's somebody in the wings that we just haven't gotten their name on here yet, or we haven't hired somebody for that position?
it means that we haven't identified anyone. If they're in the wings, we try to commit them to the position as soon as we can.
Okay.
So those are unfilled positions at this point.
Okay.
Plus, too, time isn't always of essence. I mean, you'll see some spring sports on there, that we don't have to hook somebody here in August, because there's a lot of people that are not our employees, that are semi-professional, professional collegiate athletes, or, come from other areas of expertise that could apply for that come spring. So some of them are not, we don't have to blitz.
Yeah, I was zoning in on the Brook 9th grade soccer head coach and assistant coach, because that's relevant to me and imminently coming, because soccer is upon us as we return to school. So, no, I didn't bring my cleats tonight, but don't tempt me.
If we get to the point where we don't have a position or a person to fill a position, and we advertise quickly to get those positions
Okay.
filled.
Or we put in administrators.
There you go. Let's see Bo in there,
Who has some soccer skills.
There you go.
That's why it says still to be named.
You're right. Okay. The temp modulars at Windnor, I see, have arrived. Basically, where are we with that? I mean, do they need to be plugged in and ready to go, or what? I see they're there.
Not quite that fast. We received them Friday and Monday. They were leveled yesterday. We began pouring footings today for the deck, and we think that we'll have substantial completion by next Thursday.
Okay. I had offered to Dr. Walsh that if you needed any...
Carpenters?
No. Niceties put inside for the kids. I think we can get some parents to do that if that were necessary.
Very pleased. The one unit that was brand new to us when we had it in Montgomery about 5 or 6 years ago.
And I walked by last night, I noticed that one of the screens was ripped already. Was it vandalized, or it came like that?
We have a punch list with the provider, sometimes hauling them over the road, tree branches, they will come back and replace.
I was just hoping that it hadn't already happened once they got there. One final note, very proud to say that as you drive by North Wales Road in Hancock, you'll see that Pembroke's sign is finished. It was put up today. It's beautiful, and we're really proud of it. Home and School worked hard to put that sign up, and have to talk to Bobby about the caps. Okay, so I want you all to take note of that, so thanks.
Thank you. Where'd you get your tan, Mrs. Avon? East End. There you go. Mr. Gilmer got a good shot of your tan. Anybody else, please, from the audience? Anybody? Again, one more time? Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, Superintendent's report. Recommend approval of Board Policy Number 4310A, Communicable Diseases, Personnel, item number 90-98 revised.
Need a motion? Motion by Shapinsky?
Second.
Second by Mosey. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend approval of Board Policy Number 5149A, Communicable Diseases, Students, item number 90-98 revised.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Shapinsky, second by Mosey. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend approval of waiver of tuition status for students whose names are on file in the Office of Special Education and Student Services in accordance with Board Policy Number 5118.
So moved.
Motion by Mosey,
Second.
second by Shapinsky. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend approval of the contract with Northwestern Human Services of Montgomery County for 2 drug and alcohol specialists in the amount of $63,240 paid through the Drug-Free Schools Grant for the 1998-99 school year, item number 105-98.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mosey, second by Allen. Questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Is this the same as last year, Doc?
It's a slight, it's a 2% increase from what we paid last year, but it's less from what they requested us to contract.
Thank you.
I had a question. Did you get this check yet?
I'm
Did
sorry,
this check on the list of invoices here?
for which area?
The $63,240?
Northwestern.
No.
It's a grant money.
I don't believe the check is
We
on the
haven't
list.
received that yet.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Rusnak, I'm assuming that amount is specifically for specialists, so it is individual employees
Yes, it is.
that are subcontracted.
That's correct.
Okay, I have a little problem. That 2% is higher than what we provided, I believe, the teachers in this contract. I don't know who does negotiating with these contracts sometime, but I think it needs to be kept in mind that there has been a wish on the part of certain board members or many board members that we not provide others with more than we would provide home staff.
I think it's lower. 2% is lower.
You know specifically this year?
I don't have it with me,
I
but
don't have it either.
I have it over in my office. If you want me to get it on a break, I'll bring it and show it to you. But I believe that the contract was more than this, more than 2%.
Mr. Jordan, is it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Hey, any other questions? We have a motion and a second?
Yes.
Mrs. Hatfield? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Letter E is the motion that's been rewritten as requested, and it reads, recommend approval of the contract with Lakeside Alternative School for the purchase of 40 slots for the alternative education students in the amount of $604,800 and for the expenditure of $14 per day for transportation services in reference to those students transported by Lakeside in accordance with paragraph 4F of the attached contract, item number 103-98.
Good. Motion by Sharp.
Second.
Second by Mosey. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Thank you, Solicitor.
Recommend approval to establish school lunch prices and milk prices for 1998-99 at the following rates: elementary lunches $1.35, middle school lunches $1.50, high school lunches $1.60, 8-ounce milk 35 cents, and 10-ounce milk 40 cents. Item number 104-98.
So moved.
Motion by Sharp, second by Sherpinski. Questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Art, are you, in these prices, you calculated all your freebies and gimmies and everything's figured in here? Buy 10, get 2 free, whatever that deal was? Just making sure.
They're called promotion.
Promotions, right, okay.
That's on the day-old stuff, right?
Just making sure it was
But I
calculated.
really wish you'd give parents that are chronic buyers that the chance to buy for the whole year, like you can at college, or by semester or something, and be done with it, for those of us with many
Point
children.
of service.
Well, we do point of sale.
Yeah, I know, but
We typically don't request you pay for a year. Point of sale can be monthly.
We get a free
We
lunch
earn
with every
interest on
$10,
the ad money,
don't we?
yeah, I know, but I want to write the check and be done for the year.
Well,
I'm
$200.
tired every 2 days. I mean, I'm feeding 6 kids. Come on now.
I go 50 at a time.
Think about it. If we even by marking period or something, like they do at college. you know?
Yeah, figure it out.
Now, the big question, of course, is do we have what's the price on Baby Ruth bars for Mr. Hill?
Now, Donna, how many lunches does break even a month?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend approval for 9 LSS and LS students whose names are on file in the Office of Special Education and Student Services to be enrolled in the Special Education Work/Study Program and to be employed by the North Penn School District for the 1998-99 school year.
So moved.
I'm sorry, I missed who made the motion. Was that Mr. Schilling? Mr. Schilling, second by Hill. Questions?
Yeah, just one. Do we not have to put a rate of pay with this, just as we would for any other employee disbursement? Hourly or something?
Dr. Miller? Rate of pay on these children?
I believe this is how we have done it in the past.
Well,
There is a rate that has been published, and it may not come with this, but
Yes,
it'll come
I've not
later.
seen it before with
We know it
this.
does not, it is not less than minimum wage.
It cannot be.
Okay.
Well, it's not supposed to be.
solicitor's question only because we've had some salary issues come up before in the record keeping of the district. We are on a motion in which we're authorizing for students to be employed by the district. And my question was,
Okay, one moment. Are some of these rates determined through the IEP that could involve a voc rehab component that you should not be disclosing?
Yes.
And that's what it is. And that's what it is. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you, Mr. Russell.
Recommend approval for early admission to kindergarten and first grade in accordance with policy statement number 5111 per student list on file in the Office of the Director of Special Education and Student Services.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Allen, second by Mosey. Questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rosnick, how many students are we talking about?
8 in kindergarten and 1 in first grade.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend approval of purchases for implementation of the technology plan, item number 116-98.
So moved.
Motion by Hill, second by Schilling. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend approval to apply for a grant in the amount of $39,600 for an alternative education program, item number 115-98.
Second.
Motion by Allen, second by Mosey. Questions?
Only request, could I just have follow-up that when we fulfill that alternative ed application, I could see where perhaps our interest is? I can
This would be an
understand the
alternative.
connection with the new committee.
I'm sorry.
And I will support that now that we're stabilizing in our enrollment. Perhaps now is the time as we move forward, perhaps that steep slope in declining enrollment, that we make use of our space by bringing our students home. I know a few years back it was impractical, but I'd like to see what the grant requires. Thank you.
Just so I understand, this is an alternative to Lakeside?
Yes.
Thank you.
No.
Well, did I answer it wrong, incorrectly?
This would be.
A potential,
Alternative ed.
potential.
AL.
Yes,
Right.
and this is specifically would be an addition to Lakeside if we got this plan.
Oh, this would be addition.
It wouldn't eliminate the need for this year.
This
It
would
may
give
in
us
the
an
future.
opportunity to study what this would look like, how we would run it, and would be in conjunction with the committee that Don talked about.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
No problem. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend approval of a contract with the School District of Philadelphia in the amount of $21,000 for a special education student whose name is on file in the Department of Student Services, item number 114-98.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Allen, second by Mosey. Thank you. Questions?
Just a question on means of transportation.
We'll be able to transport the student?
Is it going to be in-house?
Yes. That's what we're planning on at this point.
Mr. Rosnock, I read on other information that is medically related. Is this in coordination with any hospital in Philadelphia with the school district?
No, it's not. The School District of Philadelphia has extensive training and extensive program for these type of children. And they serve students from various districts in that program.
But the element is medical.
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend acceptance of the following gifts to the district, to the North Penn High School Career Development Program from Univest Corporation in the amount of $5,000, and also First Service Bank in the amount of $250.
Motion by Sheriff, second by Mosey. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend award of the following bids. Replacement of the PA intercom system at Montgomery, opened on August 11th, '98, and replacement of the PA intercom system at Culp, also opened on August 11th, '98, at item number BA-6.
So moved.
Motion by Sheriff, second by Mosey. Questions?
Yes, I'm just a little concerned that we only sent this out to 3 people to bid. That's all that can handle this?
That's all that can handle it, and interestingly enough, and to put your mind at ease, our vendor last year was another vendor that no longer is doing school sound, but represented the same manufacturer that we specified, and the cost last year was almost identical to this year's cost, which gives us that good feeling. But the other thing that's interesting, our budget for both of these, we had budgeted $25,000, so we're very pleased with the price, and we're not concerned with rejected and rebid of just having one bid.
Well, I appreciate the fact that we're under budget. I'm just getting a little concerned that it seems like we're getting smaller and smaller on the people that we're asking to bid, and then when you get 2 out of 3 that don't bid, we're even shrinking it that much more.
It typically has to deal with their inability to compete with this firm or a firm that we have specified for that type of equipment. I can assure you that these are good bids. I can assure you there aren't a lot of companies that are doing school sound systems because of protected franchises and territory.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend approval to grant a 40-foot by 20-foot piece of land at AM Culp Elementary School for the placement, construction, operation, and maintenance of an underground vault to Bell Atlantic, Pennsylvania Incorporated, Pico Energy, in consideration of a one-time payment of $7,500 to the North Penn School District, item number 108-98.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Schilling, second by Mosey. I don't want to belabor this. I really don't. Did we sell this piece of ground?
We are selling this piece when you approve this.
without a subdivision or without any of that?
It's a very typical process. It's all part of the community infrastructure.
Okay.
And as it relates to fiber optic, and we need to have air-conditioned vaults. We have a similar vault behind us that we sold on ESC property. And this is not a hardship to us. It will be maintained by them, and it's really an advantage to us when Bell Atlantic comes along, for example, as they just did recently and brought fiber optic into the high school. They're going up Summit Town, they brought it in at no charge. John and Debbie worked together to kind of fleece them or convince them that they could do it.
Placement, construction, operation, and maintenance. Does this include liability if Johnny Boo Boo gets hurt on top of this vault or something happens in the
They carry adequate insurance, and of course, in any situation like that, we would also be named. I mean, that's just...
nature of the beast. Did the solicitor see the contract?
No, he did not. I shouldn't say that. I don't know if John reviewed it with Frank or with Jack.
Did you see this contract?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know whether he's had an opportunity to review it or not. Nobody's reported any difficulties to this.
It is a contract and we're selling a piece of land.
Contract you see is attached. It's not a fancy contract. I mean, you get a one-time payment for $7,500, and we grant them the 20 by 40 with the understanding that they do the maintenance, with the understanding that they do the landscaping. My bigger concern was line of sight. When you're coming out the driveway, it's back far enough, but furthermore, it's a very low vault, so there's not a line of sight problem.
Madam Chairman, there is an indemnification clause in the contract itself in which the Bell Atlantic has agreed to indemnify the school district in the event of damages caused by negligence of employees in the installation, and the important part is maintenance, removal, or presence of the utility facility, and presence is also a key word. So there is a measure of protection.
Are you comfortable with that contract, even though you haven't seen it? You're seeing it now. Are you comfortable?
From my brief overview of it and from what Ms. Wood has just advised, I think so.
You may want to, I mean, you can approve it contingent upon approval or review by the solicitor.
Does it have to be done tonight?
The approval could come tonight. I mean, they're anxious to move forward. The approval could come tonight, and Mr. Yanoff could then review it, and if you made it contingent upon his review, final review, we would have permission to move forward.
Excuse me, does this, have you run this by Kenny? Does this need...
No. It doesn't have to. In the public utility sector, Ken would encourage this because it's going to bring fiber optic up through the town.
No, I'm just making sure.
You know, and right now it sounds like no harm, no foul, but from here on, anything that looks like a real or perceived contract has to go through the solicitor's office because, you know, everybody's litigation freaky, you know?
I can't promise you in the absence of John that he did not review it with Mr. Barr.
I understand that.
But if you want to delay, we can delay and do it next month. It's just that they're very anxious to move up Calvert Road.
Now, again, as Don said, we don't need a subdivision for this?
No.
Now, they have the ability to do this without going back to a township with a land development plan or subdivision. I mean, this is a part of the PUC process in moving ahead with the infrastructure. Yes.
What's above ground on this? It references an underground vault. What would actually sit above ground level?
The part that isn't underground.
Well said.
How much?
Well said.
There we have it, right?
There we go. Good
If it
answer.
was a direct burial vault, it would be buried.
Okay.
This is partial in-ground, partial out.
Okay. So we're going to have basically how much of that area with something above ground? That's roughly.
Well, I can't tell you exactly what's that.
I guess I only want to know two things, whether or not there's any safety aspects of this that we should be aware of at this time from the use that Bell's going to be making up, Pico's going to be making up.
I'm ashamed of myself.
We say no?
There is no safety issue.
There are no safety
The reason that it's a joint process is Pico must give them electric to condition the air, to air condition the unit itself, and that's why it's a joint venture between Bell and.
Well, we have no safety issues as it relates to our students or any use of the property. And two, that you see no future use difficulties, that, you know, you certainly don't want it's not worth it to sell this off if it keeps you from making better use of your property at later times. It's out of the way.
If you're standing in front of the building at the driveway,
You would
it's
say
a
no.
small piece of land on the right-hand side. I mean, it's nothing we're gonna subdivide or.
Nothing we would ever have a use for, that it would ever interfere with any future projects. I'd be happy to move forward if we want to make it, that we give approval pending review by our solicitor, if that makes everyone feel more
Mr.
comfortable.
Shapinsky, are you happy with what you started?
I didn't start this.
Yes, you did.
I didn't even know if this came up in front of committee. I thought this was facility.
It did not come up in front of committee. It's something that, you know, came forward and they were anxious to do it and anxious to move forward. And, you know, we would have waited until the August 25th committee meeting to bring it forward, which would have brought September action anyhow.
I think the point to consider here is the fact that you're dealing with PICO, and under the rules and regulations that govern PICO, they're almost going to go anywhere they want.
You're really dealing more with Bell Atlantic than PICO.
Right.
The PICO
Well,
has only a small piece.
But still, I mean, you know, with the PUC regulations and so forth, they're being nice to us, and they can, you know, we can postpone it, but I don't know how we can really stop them from
I think we
doing
can take the
it.
action.
We're kicking a dead horse here.
Unless he throws in a red flag. Be done.
I mean, you know, the solicitor has said that just giving it a brief overview, that the part that he's concerned about is the fact of maintenance, which I think gives us some sort of protection.
Okay.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm thrilled to vote for any construction that doesn't require a detention basin.
Right.
Yeah, gives us $7,500.
You mean like that traffic study that Jemenson wasn't required for the easement?
Yeah. Curbing, let's
Yeah, I
say the
hear you.
road.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Mrs. Hatfield, please put in the record that, again, it's been requested that anything that looks or like a contract or perceived to be a contract must go through the solicitor, or I'll just pull it under residence privilege.
Better start bringing these things
All
forward.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
I didn't think it was a big deal.
Recommend approval to eliminate the athletic trainer position as it currently exists and establish 3 extra duty positions as listed in item number 109-98.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mosey, second by Schilling. Any questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Is this still going to be the current trainer, or is just another way of doing the same thing?
Yes.
Yes.
I'd just like to thank you for being creative.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see that we're reviewing some of the things that we've always done and we're making changes. Thank you.
That's a pretty heavy, it's going to be a heavy schedule for the trainer, because he's also going to be full-time phys ed and training. And if we get to that point, Dr. Venema, that it is too much to handle and could use another part-time trainer, I would hope that personnel would consider, for a variety of reasons, that it be a female, so that we have one of each. Because that's serious stuff.
My understanding was we were moving from one full-time trainer to 3 separate extra duty part-time.
3 seasons.
They're
We play
separate
different sports seasons.
They're separate positions, but we anticipate that the person who's doing it, and has been doing it, will continue in all 3 of these. So we anticipate he's going to be issued all 3 of these contracts. Now, if we find that it's too much of a burden for him to do all of these, when he's already committed to do the fall, assuming approval, you know, we might do some other things.
But he was doing the full-time, he was the only athletic trainer previously, correct?
Right. But that was his full-time job. Now he's teaching, so
and
this becomes an extra
doing
duty
it as a
contract.
part-time position as opposed to the full-time.
That's right.
And we were very happy with his performance and wanted to keep him on.
Well, we operated under the 3 extra duty positions just prior to a couple of years ago. We had the middle school and the high school.
Well, this is just for the high
We
school.
didn't have a full-time trainer before.
We either had a full-time training position or we had a contracted service for one.
Yeah.
We're simply asking to replace that with this arrangement for a couple of reasons. Number one, we think it just makes the best sense in this circumstance, and we very much like to keep the same person on board.
The reason I brought up that it'd be nice to have a female Dr. Miller is in the event, athletic injuries involve contact, not unlike a medical person would contact with student athlete, and there could be males or females that would prefer the handling of someone of the same sex, especially at that very sensitive and vulnerable age. And Mr. Hill wants you to hire Richard Simmons. If he pressures you to do that, please let me know that he's doing that.
Can you watch that guy?
Needs a haircut. He needs a weight loss? Is he up there again? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Can I ask you a follow-up question to this?
Sure.
This motion? I don't remember us hiring orthopedic specialists for that. Are we not doing that now?
Yeah. So we have usually Dr. Gottrell come to the game?
I thought we always there.
He's a lifer.
But we hire him. We hire him, don't we?
But we did that.
I thought we did that.
July.
Yeah, I thought we did that.
Yeah, we did that in July.
Well, I guess if I show up, I know
Yeah,
this.
you would.
Stay late.
Okay, personnel, continue, Doctor.
Okay, under personnel, recommend approval of the following items. Under nominations, item number BA-7A-D, and we are pulling item number 6. The person just informed us about this afternoon that she was taking another job.
Okay.
No, we're
Item number 6 under nominations.
that's younger.
Wrong one.
No, Magliana?
Did everything you could to avoid saying the name, but just wouldn't let you off.
Do I have another list?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Retirement, item number BA-7D.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sher, second by Hill. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Okay. Resignations, item number BA-7D-E.
So moved.
Motion by Hill, second by Sher. Any questions?
Yes. Professional resignations.
Yes.
I see 2 were effective 6/12 of this year. And that's
Yes, they are.
2 months later, we've had 2 meetings since.
Mr. Mosey, they are teachers, and their contract is over as of 6/12, and we always use that date when teachers resign in the summertime. These resignations only just came into us.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Position changes, item number BA-7E.
Come on, folks. Motion by
Second.
Hill, second by Sher. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Salary changes, item number BA-7E.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Schilling. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Contract changes, item number BA-7F.
So moved.
Motion by Hill,
Second.
second by Sher. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Extension of leave of absence, item number BA-7F.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
by Hill, second by Mosey. Questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Continuing with personnel, item number 2, recommend approval of professional and support staff substitute lists for the 1998-99 school year, item BA-8.
So moved.
Motion by Sher, second by Shapinsky. Questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay? Thank you.
Recommend approval of, correction here, recommend approval for extra duty department chairperson and special assignments for the 98-99 school year.
So moved.
Motion by Hill, second by Mosey. Questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I guess one of these days I'm going to figure this out, but I have a question again, if I can, Mrs. Miller, or Dr. Venom. I'm looking at page 17, and I'm not just picking on football, but I see that we have 3 people with 1 year's experience, and we're starting them out at a salary which is Group 2.
I'm sorry, which one again?
Page 17.
Okay.
Assistant coach.
Assistant coaches. I see we have 4 people with 1 year's experience, and and we're starting them out at Group 2. And then I look back to page 1, and I see Patricia Vogel and Jennifer Loftus, just for an example, starting out 1.5 years experience.
No, the year's experience is 0 and 4.
Okay, zero. Yeah. And we're starting them at the minimum. I'm trying to, I don't understand how we move these people on the groups. I thought it was determined by years of experience is how they move in the group. But we have someone with 1 year experience, and we're starting them out at $13,000.
You're comparing,
$1,300.
But that's two
you're comparing
different jobs.
literary magazine with football.
There's
Well,
two components.
We have different groups.
Yeah, there's two components to it. There's the group assignment, which is, has to do with the responsibility of the position.
Right.
And the number of years of experience. It all relates to the contract salary schedule.
Okay.
That's on page 27. You can
Right.
take a look.
That's what I'm looking at, page 27.
27. I was looking at page 17.
Okay, I got it, okay.
Okay?
So the group is the responsibility.
That's right.
Thank you.
When we consider the group, if I remember these explanations, we take into account number of students involved, number of hours expected to perform in the job, amount of supervision required, safety, responsibility, all these different things. And do we still have the A committee that considers all this, and puts it all together, and comes up with the group and the experience?
I'm on that committee, Mr. Allen, and if you'll notice, the next motion, when we get to it, is for those adjustments. For that very reason, because activities change.
So we make adjustments based on what after we review it by the committee. So that process remains intact, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So you're, not to jump ahead, but based on what you're saying, Mrs. Mengel, we're increasing, for example, the golf responsibility because there's more people, more responsibility for the golf team? You can only carry some. I played on a golf team in school. We never carried more than 8 or 9 players.
It's a combination of things. The committee reviewed these two positions that we're recommending next. I don't know whether you want me to respond to that one or wait till we get to it. Or
I don't care. It's up to you. If you want to settle it now, wait till we get to it.
Go ahead, continue.
Okay.
They're all related. Motions are
Right.
both related.
The adjustments that we make in group assignments are based on a referral by the people involved, usually the athletic director for a coaching position. And it's reviewed by the committee, and we review all the factors that Mr. Allen just mentioned and make judgments about the status of that position. Sometimes the responsibilities do change. There are a number of adjustments made in coaching positions over the years as we move from Bucksmont into Suburban 1, for example. The amount of responsibilities that this position has relative to other positions of the same season is another factor that we considered. And the group assignment for a golf coach, for example, was based on that review. There's a concern that we be fair and consistent and that the different positions are treated fairly and consistently for the amount of responsibility they have.
I understand what you're saying, but I just don't know how much responsibility could increase by the golf coach to warrant almost $2,300 increase.
It's a combination
I played the golf team in school. You have 8 or 9 guys. We all went together in a van or a bus to the golf course. We played our matches, and we all got on the bus and came back home, or the van.
When you compare what the golf coach does to other coaches at the Group 5 level, it's very comparable as it relates to time, number of students, experience, practice time. Even though it may not seem as demanding because it happens to be golf as opposed to football, the amount of time commitment that's there, the amount of travel that's involved, the amount of competition, those factors all enter into it. And so this, we feel, is comparable to other positions in that time frame.
How long, are we the same golf coach?
This year, I believe, yes.
Has he been here
Same
for
as last
a
year.
long time?
He's listed in the
says years of experience, one.
In the packet, I think this is, so therefore it's a second year.
And,
Now,
okay.
I mean, if they don't have to fall straight, we can send it back.
No, that's right.
I just think the guys, guys here, when I play golf, we're responsible for road practice.
Maybe you need to play around a golf with them, Pat.
Pardon me?
Maybe you need to play around a golf with them.
Moving along.
Yeah, I know. Let's move along. Mr. Mosey has a real good point, really.
That's correct.
Any other questions?
Well, mine were right there, except I thought we were moving forward to that motion.
No,
And I guess I
back,
did.
we're on 3 right now.
Right.
I jumped ahead.
I've got to say the golf.
Thank you for doing it.
The golf coach jumped up at me. I mean, you are talking jumping 3 levels. There's been routine reviews of these, I thought, consistently, and it's not very often that we see someone jumping 3 levels. You're talking about a position that on one motion, we approved them at $1,378. And then in the very next motion, rather than having brought forward the adjustment on the sheet one moment earlier, we now are making an adjustment of whatever, 200%.
Folks, what we ought to do is we ought to go back to 3. Let's take the vote on 3. When we get to 4, we've had most of that discussion, but I'll open it up again, of course. If there's those of you that wish to separate golf from the rest of that package, we can do that too. Any more questions on motion 3? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you. Okay.
Number 4, recommend approval for extra duty group adjustments and new positions as listed, item number 110-98.
So moved.
Motion by Mosey, second by Allen. Questions?
Well, I just want to explain, I'm not picking on any particular coach, but I happened to watch on Channel 16 last night, they did a promo with Mr. Pettin of the football team. And I think we have 5, 6 coaches. They're all wearing triple hats. I mean, every coach is responsible for 3 or 4 positions. I'm a linebacker, defensive lineman, the safety, another guy responsible for the running back, the younger running back. And I'm just looking at and again, I don't know what's in the band fund. How many people are we talking in the band?
1,500. I'm exaggerating.
I don't know. Yeah.
That speaks for
Now,
itself.
that may be, that could well be worse. And again, I'm not picking on the golf coach, but I just wonder how many times we have people in extra duty positions that are, moving along and picking up additional revenue. And I just don't know if I know it's by contract, and we have to do it, and we're kind of locked in.
This is a separate contract. It is not related to the teacher's contract.
Okay.
I think you need to think about the fact that there's a process associated with it, that there's a system that we've used over the years to evaluate. This was the result of that evaluation, and
I'm not going to
bring it
belabor
forth.
the point, but if you could for me, Dr. Bender, I don't know if any other board members want it. Could I have something in writing as to what generated these two movements?
Absolutely.
Would you be good enough to do that, just so I don't have to bring it up at future board meetings and waste people's time, I get it straight in my mind?
And that would be something that would be run through curriculum on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, because I just, we get this extra duty list, and it's a half-inch thick, and I do try to go through it, and I do try to compare the groups and everything. But I just wondered if there aren't some inconsistencies in there.
I know that several questions have been raised about adjustments that have occurred in the past for different positions, although I haven't been here. And I know there's questions about how all this comes about. I'd be happy to review with any of you the process that we go through and hear your concerns and help explain things.
Yeah, well, I'm going to meet with Dr. Hassler, so perhaps, that might be something we might discuss rather than take board time. I apologize.
That's all right. Dr. Bennett, I've talked with Dr. Hassler, and there's a very good possibility in September I'm going to appoint a new committee called Student Life, Extracurricular and Student Life, separated from the academic curriculum, because this stuff comes up regularly. There is a lack of familiarity, and also maybe that committee that makes those adjustments, because I'm the only one different in that I'm not an employee. Maybe that committee needs to report to a committee of the board. So that's something to be considered. Mr. Shapinsky, you wanted to say something later, or earlier?
No.
Okay. Does anybody wish to have anything taken out of that motion and separated for a separate vote?
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Number 5, recommend approval of the homebound instructors listed for the 1998-99 school year at a rate of $26 per hour, item number 111-98.
So moved.
Motion by Allen. Second by Sharp. Questions?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Quick question, are these employees or independent contractors?
Most of them are, all these are employees, they're either teachers, ESL teachers, or Chapter 1, Title I teachers.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Number 6, recommend approval of David Kratz as interim principal at General Nash Elementary School at a stipend of $360 per day, effective August 24th, 1998.
So moved.
Motion by Hill, second by Sharp. Questions?
Comment. I'd like to say that Mr. Kratz came to Gwinnett Square under very difficult circumstances last year. There's been a lot of transition that parents and children had undergone, and I think he did a magnificent job. I really didn't have any in-depth interaction with him, but you could certainly see the joy in his eyes just from watching him interact during a play or a school event. And I believe he maintained the happy atmosphere that's always been at Gwinnett Square, but he was able to run a stable ship there, and I think he really made a big difference in how the parents reacted to that whole situation that they were faced with. And I think the parents of General Nash will be pleased to get to know him and have him assigned there as an interim. They will probably be clamoring for us to ask him to please stay.
We continue to.
That's been
They'll be
happening.
very happy with.
That's been happening.
He'll be able to walk right in there and pick right up, I believe.
We continue to try to coax him out of retirement. If you watch
Yeah.
tonight.
I know. I'd also like to say that I think that's an excellent choice to pick Dave. How you doing, Dave? I said I'd vote for you. Dave and I serve on the same committee.
Oh, did you?
The Hatfield Township Planning Commission. He's our chairperson. And he too runs a very smooth, enjoyable meeting, and he's great for us to get along. I think this district couldn't have a finer gentleman than
There you
Dave
go.
has.
Here, here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Recommend approval to pay Jason Gears retroactive pay in the amount of $4,000 for the 1997-98 school year.
So moved.
Motion by Allen.
Second.
Second by Hill. Questions?
Comment?
Yes, sir.
Before I vote, I was told I had to vote on this, just for the record. I have to vote yes for this.
Now, you have to explain why, so that nobody
No,
thinks
no,
you're
I
getting
just-
beaten up
I just
behind
don't have
closed
to.
doors or something.
I was just told I have to, so I want people to know that.
But why do you have to?
No, I'm just told I have to because it's a contract and something I walked into as a board director, I have to
To honor a contract.
honor this contract.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Number 8, recommend the replacement of Burton T. Hines, Associate Principal, with Stephen Frederick, effective August 18th, 1998, at a salary of $76,500.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mosey, second by Schilling. Questions?
Comment.
Yes, sir.
Be hard to replace Burton, but I think Mr. Frederick will do a good job.
Not replacing really anybody, when you think about it, because they're all staying here. You know, we're just spreading them out. We're spreading them out a little bit. Spreading out the talent.
It's always been my concern that when Mr. Hines left the high school that we would have some difficulty because he did an awful lot of things over there, but I know Mr. Frederick and he's just as involved as Mr. Hines was, and I think it's a good choice.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. 4 minutes? Oh, is it possible?
We
Sorry,
have-
is it
We
possible?
have an addendum here, under Personnel P, number 9, recommend approval of the technology teacher trainers and stipends, item number BAA-2.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Hill, second by Schilling. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
An addendum to the addendum. Number 10, recommend approval of Caroline Crew as teacher on special assignment as interim science coordinator, 1/2 day.
So moved.
A half a day for 98-99 school year, effective September 1, 1998.
So moved.
Motion by Scherr, second by Mosey. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
11, recommend approval of Gail Jurgensen Rhodes as teacher on special assignment as interim reading coordinator. We need a correction there, that's not half a day, that's full day, for the 1998-99 school year, effective September 1, 1998.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Schilling, second by Mosey. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank Thank you.
12, recommend approval of Sue Cahill as English supervisor consultant at a per diem without benefits rate of $350 per day, effective August 24th, 1998.
So moved.
Motion by Mosey, second by Schilling. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Student travel, item number BA-59.
Motion to approve. Schilling, second by Allen. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you.
Under informational items, other business.
Other business, I need somebody to move for the appointment of Mr. John Schilling to replace Mr. Bill Allen for the Vocational Technical Career Center, and along with accepting Mr. Allen's resignation.
So moved.
Motion by Hill, second by Mosey. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Okay, Treasurer's Report and Budget Transfers. Mrs. Steady.
The treasurer's report has been circulated and shall be attached to the board minutes. The cash balance as of July 31st, 1998, $16,344,854.38. The recommend ratification of 1997-98 year-end closing budget transfers in the amount of $345,795 in accordance with the board resolution adopted at the June 1998 board meeting.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Hill, I'm sorry, Allen, motion, Sheriff, second. Any questions?
I just, again, ask Dottie, please use the cross-reference of the language that Carol included in her statement.
Okay, so noted. All in
Recommend
favor?
ratification of 1990.
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait a minute, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Just
Thank
pass
you.
it to Dottie.
Please recommend ratification of 1997-98 year-end closing budget transfers in the amount of $370,840 in accordance with the board resolution adopted at the June 1998 board meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Allen, second by Schilling. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Recommend approval of the sanction and invoices in the amount of $3,194,202.97 for the month of August 1998.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Allen, second by Schilling. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Mr. Wood?
No report for August?
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Wood?
Second.
Federal programs?
No report.
Any questions of Dr. Venema? Solicitor's report?
No report.
Any report of solicitor?